Hi viewers, don't skip this video because this video is about your brain, human brain. So the human brain is most advanced organ in this earth that is not obtained by any other animal rather than human. So we have the brain that is about 1.5 kilogram in weight or 3 pounds in weight, and that contain about 86 billions of neurons. Entire brain is made by special cells called neurons. There are about 86 billion, not billion, not million, sorry. It is a billion. 86 billion neurons are there in our brain. First of all, let us discuss what is the structure of the brain, how the brain is structured. Actually, there are major three parts of the brain identified as cerebrum. The number one is cerebrum. Number two is cerebellum. Number three is brainstem. So let us first of all discuss what is the cerebrum. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. It is called the thinking brain because this part of the brain is located in the front area of our brain, and it occupies about 85% of all the weight of our brain. This brain area is responsible for thinking, problem solving, emotions, voluntary movements, and it is divided as two distinct areas, left hemisphere and right hemisphere. Left hemisphere controls the right side of the body, as well as right hemisphere controls the left side of the body. These both hemispheres are separated by the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is the area that processes the information in the cerebrum or the front brain or the thinking brain. So now you got the rough idea about the cerebrum or the largest part of the brain, that is called the thinking brain, where all kind of our thinking process are handled, and it is divided as two hemispheres. These both hemispheres share the equal and exactly same things or same neurons, but they are controlling different part of the body. Okay, now let us move. What is the second major part of the brain? That is called the cerebellum. The first part is the cerebrum. The second part is the cerebellum. This is called the balance and coordination center because this brain is located in the center part of our brain, and it regulates our movement, our balance, and our motor skills. For example, if we want to talk, we have to move our tongue and our teeth as well as our various part of our face. So there must be a movement that should be regulated by the brain. This is done by the cerebellum. As well as when we are writing, we are moving our hand in various positions. How to hold the pen or pencil, how to write, how to move, everything are done by the cerebellum. But what to write is done by the cerebrum. It is the largest brain or front brain, and how we are writing is done by cerebellum, that is the brain located in the mid part of our brain. So the cerebellum is the area of the brain that controls our movement, our balance, and our motor skills. The third and last major part of our brain is called the brainstem. This brainstem is the life brain or the brain that is related to the survival. So this part is controlling all the involuntary movement, involuntary functions of our body. For example, heart beating, as well as heart rate and digestion and our breath, everything are controlled by the brainstem. There is a part called medulla oblongata. This actually controls the respirations and reflexes. The reflex is the action that do not need any conscious attention. The consciousness is coming from the cerebrum brain. So without the help of the cerebrum brain, the brainstem or the lower brain can make decision suddenly in order to protect our life. All the life protective or survival related things are done in the brainstem. So the medulla oblongata is very crucial part for the survival. Any injury caused to this area may cause a person to death or even to the coma or vegetative state. So up to now we have categorized the brain as three main parts, namely cerebrum, the front brain, cerebellum, the mid brain, and the brainstem, the lower brain. Now let us deeply discuss about the first part, that is the cerebrum and its four lobes, because the cerebrum is responsible for thinking as well as decision making. This part is very crucial for the sensory perception that we are receiving from this environment. That's why this part, which occupies more than 85% of the entire brain, is divided as four distinct lobes. The first one is called the frontal lobe. This frontal lobe is called the control center of the brain, because as we said at the beginning, the thinking, the decision making, problem solving, our personality and all the volunteer movements are done by our cerebrum brain. The part of the cerebrum, the first part of the cerebrum brain, that is called the frontal lobe, is actually doing these things. That is the part that think, that makes decision, that solve the problem, that shapes our personality. So we show ourselves to the world. Who are we? We get the idea about ourselves. Who are we? That is our personality. So the personality also determined by the control center of the brain, that is the frontal lobe. Then the second part is the parietal lobe. The parietal lobe is called the sensory processor, because it processes the sense. Touch. If somebody touches, we feel it. Temperature, we feel. Pain, we feel. Pleasure, we feel. Sexual awareness, we feel. These all are regulated by the parietal lobe, that is a sensory processor. So in the front brain or cerebrum brain, the second lobe called parietal lobe is responsible for processing the sensory perception. The third lobe is called the temporal lobe. The temporal lobe is responsible for our memory and hearing. So actually we hear the sounds not through our ears, but actually through the temporal lobe. So any damage in the temporal lobe may cause permanent hearing loss or permanent memory loss. So memory as well as hearing, these both function are processed by the temporal lobe. The temporal lobe also processing the sounds, language comprehension, memory and memory storage also. It has an area called the hippocampus. The hippocampus is forming new memories and erasing the old memories. So any damage to the temporal lobe will cause memory or hearing related problems. The final lobe of cerebrum is the occipital lobe. The occipital lobe is the vision center of the brain. Actually we see the things through the occipital lobes. We see the things through the eyes, but eyes won't see the things. The sensation goes to the occipital lobe. Occipital lobe see the world. So the color, the motion, the people, whatever we see, whatever we recognize is done by the occipital lobe of the cerebrum. So up to now we have discussed four main lobes of our front brain or the thinking brain, that is called the cerebrum. Now let us move to discuss about how this brain is functioning. Actually, as we said, there are neurons. The neurons are the building blocks of entire brain. There are about 86 billion neurons. 86 billion is the huge number. Each neuron contains three distinct parts. The first one is the dendrites that receives the signals. The second part is the axon that sends the signal from the brain to the rest of the body. The third part is the synapse. The synapse is a gap that is filled with the neurotransmitters. Actually, neurotransmitters are very crucial chemicals that fill the gap of synapse between the dendrites and axons. According to various neurotransmitters, various functions of the neurons are done in the various areas of the brain. So there is a supporting cells also called glial cells. The glial cells are called supporting system for the neurons. Actually the brain is made purely by neurons, but there are glial cells also that actually protects the brain, that eliminate the waste, that clean the brain, and that always function as a supporting system. Now let us discuss what is the neurotransmitter. As we said, the neurotransmitters are various chemicals that fill the gap, synaptic gap of the neurons of our brain. There are five major categories of the neurotransmitter. There are more, by five major categories are very important. The first one is the dopamine. The dopamine is responsible for the pleasure, motivation and reward. So we feel pleasure, we do everything for increasing the dopamine. When the dopamine level is lower, the people may feel sadness or worries. The second neurotransmitter is the serotonin. The serotonin is the mood regulating transmitter. So when serotonin level is lower, the people may feel anxiety or depression. The serotonin also regulates our sleep and appetite. The third neurotransmitter is called the acetylcholine. The acetylcholine helps for learning and memory. The fourth one is the GABA. The GABA is the calming neurotransmitter. When the GABA neurotransmitter is present in the brain, we feel relaxed and calm. When this neurotransmitter is missing or reduced, we feel anxiety and stress. The glutamate is the fifth important neurotransmitter that is responsible for the brain's function of learning. So we say some people are very clever, so their glutamate level is high. That is why they can learn and they can memorize the things and they can become the clever people. Okay, up to now we have discussed the function of the brain and structure of the brain already discussed. Now let us discuss how the brain could be adapted. Actually, we have received the brain from our ancestors. Ancestors mean that they have adapted to the environment accordingly. Their brain has developed. So we have received the same brain from our ancestors with many modification. So when we are getting the positive things, positive mean something that is better to ourselves and others. So when we are living in the positive environment and getting the positive things, like learning new skills, exercises, meditation, social interaction, our brain is programmed with the positive thoughts. So we are getting the positive brain. The negative brain also could be shaped by the environment, by misusing the recreational drugs or abusing the drugs, or not doing the exercise or being with the stress. These things may make the negative brain. In conclusion, our brain has various areas and it is doing the various function. Our brain is responsible for our consciousness also. First of all, the consciousness is the concept for mind. Actually, consciousness is the feeling of I am living, I am this kind of person, I can do this, I can't do this. These kind of thoughts are what is called conscious. But we can think right now about ourselves is conscious. That is done by our front or cerebrum brain that we have already discussed. The second very important thing is the memory and learning. That is done by our midbrain. Actually, there is a short-term memory and long-term memory. Short-term memory is the memory that we use to do the functions in the temporary basis. Long-term memory is what? The memory that comes with us. For example, once we learn to drive a car, we won't think much. Automatically we can drive it. So they are our long-term memory functions. So long-term memory is the memory that makes our personality too. So finally, we will discuss about brain's health. Actually, the brain could be affected by various diseases, namely Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a kind of memory losing disease that may affect the elderly population, especially that comes from generation to generation. The Parkinson disease also a kind of disease that caused by the lower dopamine levels, and it affects the people to move their body properly. Stroke is a disease, or stroke is a block of a blood supply to the brain. Then brain cells may die when the stroke happens. Some people misunderstand that stroke is related with the heart. No, but stroke is actually related with the blood supply and oxygen supply to the brain. When it is blocked, the brain may die. Next, the very crucial topic, everyday talking topic is depression and anxiety. Actually, as we said, the neuro imbalance in the neurotransmitters may cause the depression and anxiety. So we must, if we have these kind of symptoms, we must treat ourselves and get relief. Finally, let us discuss how to keep our brain healthier. The first one is regularly doing exercise. So you may do, to improve your blood flow, you may do any physical activity, maybe running, meditation, yoga, or even jogging, walking, anything. that, but you have to do it regularly. The second one is eating the balanced food and the balanced diet that may be helpful to our brain, that contain omega 3 or vitamins, as well as getting the enough sleep. 7 to 8 hours sleep is necessary for a average person. Next one is practicing lifelong learning. So you have to practice some kind of lifelong learning that may keep your brain fresh and active. Finally, manage the stress. If you have the stress, if you always feel the stress, if you are living in the stressful condition, you manage it yourself or get the medical advice to make your brain healthier and live longer. Through this video, we have brought you most of the facts about our brain. We have summarized the structure of the brain, how brain function, how brain is getting the diseases, and how brain could be maintained healthier and live longer. So we hope that this video would be very informative and helpful to you. Please subscribe the channel and join with us for more similar motivational and psychological videos in English. Thank you very much.